Hi there, hola, bonjour, con Dios. What's that mean, Derek?
What do we do, ni hao?
Huh?
We did ni hao, I think, on the show
That
last
was
week.
was that
right?
when we were doing the Nang Pong?
No, ni hao's Japanese, isn't it?
Okay, I think
yeah,
so.
Nangfang is the Chinese newspaper.
That's right, and it means what?
The newspaper, I believe, is the loose translation
Yeah,
of
for the
Nangfang.
Yeah, that's right. At any rate, my name is Jake Query. I say that because we're now internationally renowned. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on the ISC Sports Network. And Derek, I'm going to begin with kind of 3 trivia questions for you. Yes, no questions for you.
Okay. Fun.
Yes or no, Gilles de Ferran won the 2003 Indianapolis 500?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes or no, the Philadelphia Phillies and Tampa Rays once played each other in the World Series?
Yep. 08.
Okay.
2008.
And yes or no, the Baltimore Ravens defeated the 49ers in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, the Harbaugh Bowl, 2012 season.
Okay. Can you tell me anything that took place in the season build-up to those, or the playoff build-up to those events?
I remember the Rays beating the Red Sox in the ALCS in 08. I was at the 03 500. We camped out in the Coke lot, and I had one pretty rough 500, and I think it was that one where, we had no water for a couple of days, but we had a lot of beer. And like physically, I was present at the 2003 Indianapolis 500. Mentally, I was far, far away.
Well, my point
happening.
15 years from now, there are going to be 2 people doing a radio show that are going to say, do you remember anything about UConn and
exactly.
San Diego State?
I knew you were going with it.
NCAA championship?
Completely unmemorable. Really a game that was difficult to watch. And I tweeted this last night. The games that are the most frustrating to me are the ones that they don't get beyond 10 or 12 points. So you think, okay, I got to stay up just in case somebody makes a run. And San Diego State made a run. UConn was never in danger of losing that game.
No. And look, kudos and credit to the University of Connecticut basketball program. I mean, when I say like it was a kind of forgettable championship, that's not a slight at them because they had an unbelievable tournament. They beat good teams. Gonzaga's a good team. You know, San Diego State is
Miami's a good
team. Miami's a good team. They had an unbelievable run. They were within 12 points of setting the all-time record for cumulative point of margin in an NCAA tournament run. It was a dominating performance. They're a likable group. I mean, there's nothing about them you can't like.
No, Dan Hurley's extremely likable.
Yeah, they're just very – and, you know, San Diego State was too, though. San Diego State, they played hard. Their coach is very likable. I mean, there was nothing to dislike about any of it. No. It just didn't jump out at you.
No, and it was a great tournament, and it was an anticlimactic capper to a great tournament.
Did you watch One Shining Moment?
Yep. It's so sad. I get extremely depressed.
It is weird,
today.
Isn't it? It's like melancholically depressing.
Like I don't like hearing the music even. It makes me sad. But UConn is fascinating to me, Jake, because generally speaking, the blueprint to being a blue blood program is...
Did they say you're running for your life?
You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. Right?
No, it goes up.
You're a shooting star.
You're a shooting star.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Yeah.
Okay, great. Remember when they changed it from Luther Vandross and so many people complained?
Do you remember the year Indiana in 2002 and the whole thing was like CGI and effects and gold rushes and stars, and it was like, okay.
Really stupid.
Let's just keep this simple, right?
Our
lighting looks better today. I noticed. Did you notice?
Then again, the 2002 title game,
I need to sit
I was at IU. It was very similar to the 2003 Indianapolis 500. Like, I was physically present for the Indiana-Maryland game, but I was far, far off somewhere else.
What do you mean?
After that game. I got tear gas that night. That was a hard night.
What was her name?
No. I didn't. That was Anne earlier in the semester broke up with me, and that was natural tears. This was, chemically induced tears. I know I'm wearing a Purdue shirt talking about how I was celebrating Indiana's presence in the title game in 2002, but that was a rough night.
But it was, Derek, it was a good tournament because you had – and this is what's fascinating about it, though, and we talked about this last week, I'm sure. We always talk about how we love upsets. We love the Cinderella stories of March Madness. We love the first-round chaos, the second-round chaos. And then it comes down to it, and you get a Final Four with no blue blood, unless you consider Connecticut that, which I think you can. But, Miami and San Diego State and Florida Atlantic, and I'm guessing the viewership was way down. The biggest talk in college basketball over the course of the weekend was Iowa and LSU in the women's side.
Yep.
So, it was an interesting year for that fact. This
is one of the first years ever where if you stopped 100 people on the street and said, name a player who played in the national championship women's game and name a player who played in the national championship men's game, more people would be able to name somebody who played in the women's game.
That's a great point.
Not that UConn doesn't have standout great players, but they don't really have – neither team had that star, and LSU and Iowa did.
Let me tell you a couple of notes that I find interesting, and I'm going to go back to Indiana. And I hate to make everything about IU, but we're in Indiana, right? In 1987, when I was in the 8th grade, Indiana won the national championship. It's great. Loved it. And I didn't know any different because I was an 8th grader. And in my 14 years on the planet, I'd seen Indiana win 3 national championships, and 3 of them in an 11-year span. So I just assumed this was how it's going to be. And then when I was a freshman in college in 1992, 5 years later, they again went to the Final Four. So that was just how it was going to be in Indiana. And I never would have guessed in 1987 when Indiana was the bluest of blue bloods and they had the winningest percentage, the highest winning percentage in NCAA tournament history for any school. And you had, at that time, UCLA with 10, Kentucky with 6, and Indiana winning their 5th. That was it. Since then.
Yeah, Carolina only had 2, right, at that
correct.
time. Yeah.
They had 3. No, 2. You're right.
Yeah.
2. Yeah. So Carolina since then has won 4. And now has 6 total, right? Isn't that right?
Yep.
Kansas has won 3 since that time. They now have 4 total.
Yep, because they won the next year and then 2 more.
Kentucky added 2 more. They now have 8. UCLA added another. They have 11.
Kentucky added 3 more. 96, 98, and 12.
So Kentucky had 5 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. And then 2 different programs. Duke, who had been to the Final Four the year before for the first time under Mike Krzyzewski. They went in 78 as well. And Connecticut. 2 programs since Indiana's 5th national championship have won 5 of their own since then to join the ranks. Duke went to the Final Four every single year from, 1988 to 2000, whatever. It was amazing. And got 5 of them total. And then Connecticut, who is now 5-0 in national championship games and has 5 titles. Derek, it goes to show, first off, the point that I'm trying to make, aside from just how things have passed by Indiana, is for Connecticut, I don't know that we even still think of them as a quote-unquote blue blood, but they have won 5 titles in the second shortest time span in NCAA tournament history from 0 for schools winning their 1st to their 5th. And they've done it. I mean, in 24 years, they've won 5 titles now.
Yeah.
And they've done it with 3 different coaches in 4 straight decades. I mean, at what point do we say this is a I've never met anybody. Now, you're different because you're a native of Connecticut.
Yeah.
But you get on – I travel all over this country, right, and some parts of Arkansas. And you get in airports in Vegas and L.A., wherever you go, and you see people wearing Arkansas hats and UNLV hats and Duke and North Carolina, Kentucky and Kansas and Indiana and Michigan State. Do you ever see anybody wearing Connecticut stuff?
It's not a gigantic alumni base. And the people that have gone to UConn generally are located around the tri-state.
If we went into a Lids right now, do they even sell UConn hats?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great observation. If we're ranking the teams, I still think UConn is just outside of that Kansas, Carolina, whatever, because November, December, January, February also counts. And UConn routinely misses the NCAA tournament, routinely.
Right.
Like Kansas every year is winning their league and is in the tournament. North Carolina, I know they didn't miss it this year, every year is a Final Four threat. UConn is a Final Four threat every 5 or 6 years, but every 5 or 6 years they're winning the whole thing.
Yeah, but and this is probably for that reason. When I was in high school, or even now, I mean, you go into Carmel Pups League, or you go around, or you talk to kids, no matter where it might be. I mean, my buddy Torian, when he was playing at Tech, I was asking him, like, what teams do you like? Well, I like Michigan. I like Michigan State. He liked Butler. And everybody had, I mean, when I was a kid, I had a buddy that was a Duke fan. I had a buddy, I actually kind of liked Arkansas. We were all IU fans.
Yeah.
But you just don't hear anybody. You don't see any kids wearing Connecticut stuff or Connecticut hat or rocking Connecticut shorts. I mean, it really is, but it is. And you know what? Danny Hurley, I mean, he may win a couple of them there. He's got a good thing going. It's a good program.
It's sustainable.
And it seems like, and I don't know, Derek, you would know better than I. Maybe I'm going to put my foot in my mouth here. But it seems like relatively a program that you would be fine rooting for. I don't remember them being really involved in any major scandal or having guys that were bad guys.
The end of the Calhoun era was not good on that front. He was never directly connected, but they were ineligible for the tournament one year and all of that. So they have run afoul of the NCAA before, but like Ray Allen, Emeka Okafor, they're great guys.
Richard Hamilton?
Yeah, they're all easy to root
quiet
for.
lunch pail guys,
Great
right?
dudes. Kemba Walker, who doesn't like Kemba, right? Kemba's great.
Scotty Burrell?
This feels more sustainable. 14 was a flash in the pan. That was
Jeremy Lamb, right?
Jeremy Lamb was the Kemba team. 14 was
right.
Shabazz Napier. That was really, and I've told my UConn friends this, that was an all-time fluke. That run just completely, they were a 7 seed. They got fortunate. Look, they earned it. They won 6 games. They deserved to be champions. That was a one-off. This feels like UConn is back to being what they were in the 90s with Calhoun, where they were in the mix every year.
Right.
But what's so weird, Jake, is the 21st century, UConn since 2010, you want me to read their results? Missed the NCAA tournament, national champs, lost first round, missed the NCAA tournament, ineligible. National champs, missed the NCAA tournament, lost second round, missed the NCAA tournament, missed the NCAA tournament, missed the NCAA tournament, COVID, lost first round, national champs. Like, they've won 3 titles in a 13-year span where they've missed the tournament 5 times. You know how many titles Kansas has in the last 70 years?
Right.
3.
Right.
And Kansas is a 1 seed almost every year. Kansas is in the tournament every year. It's hard to win the tournament.
It is.
It's hard, and UConn just makes it look so easy.
It is crazy.
Because they just catch fire and they go nuts. But it's a fascinating conversation, right? Where, like, do they belong in the Duke tier? I still think they're tier 2, but they're at the very, very top of tier 2.
But Derek,
They're above Villanova. They're above Louisville. They're above, I think, all those teams.
Are they
now.
above Indiana?
Oh, yeah. At this point, I think you have to say yeah. Because even though their success didn't start until the 90s, you mentioned it, 4 different decades where they've won now and been a factor. And there have been now 3 different decades where Indiana hasn't been one.
Yeah, the one thing for Indiana that I would say, and Louisville, is that you have history that goes back further.
Sustained success, yeah.
But still.
Well, Louisville much more than Indiana, but yes.
Well, I don't know about that. In terms of sustained, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, current. I know Louisville's in the gutter right now, but they're, 10 years removed from a title and not that far removed from a Final Four.
We were at that game, right? Was that the rainstorm year? New Orleans?
No, New Orleans was Kansas, Kentucky.
That's
we didn't go because it was a torrential downpour. 13 we were at. 18 we didn't go. Why didn't we go in 18?
Hold on. 13 was which one?
Was Louisville, Michigan.
That
we were
was
there.
In New Orleans, right?
No, Atlanta. New Orleans was Kentucky, Kansas in 12.
Gotcha. Okay.
18 was Villanova, Michigan, and I don't think we went. And I'm trying
we
to
were
remember
there.
why. Why?
We were there.
We were?
That was San Antonio, right?
No, we were in San Antonio, but I don't think we went to the game.
We went. No. We came back. This is always fun when we do this, and only we know what we're talking about.
Everybody else is like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
In the year of San Antonio, we came back Monday morning. We were there for the semifinals. We did the show on Friday.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
you did a special on Saturday.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And then we did the show on Monday.
Yeah, the station didn't want to pay for the hotel room the other night.
The Howard Johnson wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
Remember, they didn't have the 3-night minimum.
Yeah.
So we just stayed at the Hojo there. Well, it wasn't really in San Antonio. It was just outside of it, remember?
Yeah, which sucks because the pool was closed both days.
Yeah, well, It was open, but the Ducks had taken it. It was La Cinta, Texas, just outside San Antonio.
Yeah, well, and they had the police tape up too because they had a floater, I think, in there as well. But I think ultimately, Jake, kind of looking at the NCAA tournament in general, you had, and we've got our Love That Play coming up, spoiler alert, you had an epic finish in a Final Four game, right? A buzzer beater, which very rarely happens. Right. You had a 16 beat a 1. You had a 15 make the Sweet 16. You had no 1s, 2s, or 3s in the Final Four. The Furman game against Virginia, Michigan State, Kansas State, like there were great games and great moments. It was a great tournament. I really take last night aside. I thought it was a great tournament.
The thing that they do that's amazing is how evenly matched up the teams are.
I know.
I mean, it is amazing.
And it's completely blind. They don't think about that at all. It's just where they end up based on geography more than anything else.
I mean, but the resume, you know what I mean? Like when you have like the 7, the 9 and the 8s are so similar to one another, and everything else.
They're coin flips.
By the way, back to Danny Hurley. That brings us to a returning segment on the program, right?
Yes, we're so excited.
We are.
IndyCar, cooking red hot. You got stuck in Austin, which is the reason why we're doing the show.
Texas
on Tuesday.
Not Austin, Dallas.
Yeah, sorry, Dallas. Which is the reason we're doing the show on Tuesday anyway. But almost month of May time, only a couple of weeks away from the greatest spectacle in racing, and our friends at American Dairy Association Indiana always come back on board just in time for the 500.
They've been great to us.
winnersdrinkmilk.com, and we talk about all the great traditions of the 500.
Do you have the milk facts?
Camping out in the Coke lot. I don't have the milk facts. Yeah. Camping out in the Coke lot, and anything that you do on race day, cold fried chicken, meeting up with friends and family. All the great memories associated with
the American Dairy Association of Indiana, and they're great farmers that are part of the greatest tradition in sports, the Winners Drink Milk, drink of milk in Victory Lane at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That started with Louis Meyer way back in the day, right? With buttermilk. One of the great traditions for us has not only been emceeing the Winners Drink Milk Fastest Rookie Luncheon, which we are thrilled to be doing again this year. And, I get really nervous during that, but we'll plug our way through it.
Gonna have the mustache for it.
Huh?
Gonna have the mustache. That's race week. So I'm gonna have the mustache when we MC the event.
No. Milk doesn't mind mustaches, but it has to be a milk mustache. You're gonna get the wrong idea here.
You could do a milk mustache. I am growing a hair mustache. So I'm not shaving from now. Sorry, I'm looking up at the monitor. I'm not shaving from now until the Monday after the race. The awards banquet is usually when I take this off.
Well, then what about the beard?
The beard will stay on until race week, and then race week I take the beard down to the mustache.
So you're going to MC an event with that horrific Ricky Bobby looking mustache?
I haven't cleared that with Sally or Jenny at
you might want to check
but that was my plan. To have the mustache.
Well, the reason that they're willing to put up with such ridiculous hijinks and embarrassment from a PR standpoint is because they know that we will give out the milk facts. And then you don't have the milk facts.
Milk has as much nutrition.
Milk
has as much nutrition as 10 avocados and a couple hard-boiled eggs, a lot of spinach. It's good. And as much potassium as 10 bananas.
Why don't you tap dance for a second, and I'll walk right in front of that camera.
JD, can we put an asterisk on the screen because I want to make sure that those are.
I'm going to go get the real milk facts.
Those facts are subject to change.
Hang on,
because
keep talking.
We're not entirely sure. Are you sure they're still over there? I rearranged everything on the desk over there. I'm not sure if they're still over there. I remember something about hard-boiled eggs. Protein, maybe? Protein for hard-boiled eggs? There was something about spinach, like 2 cups of spinach. It has as much folate or iron or one of those. And then there was something related to, not carbohydrates, something else. Vitamin A has as much vitamin A as 7 kiwis. Or am I thinking of Scott Dixon? You've got him there?
Hi, my name is Jake Query, one of the 2 MCs of the Fastest Rookie Luncheon, and quite possibly now the only MC for the American Dairy Association Fastest Rookie Luncheon. When it comes to preparing yourself for your day, you need to be prepared. Or when it comes to a workout, you need to make sure you're prepared for after your workout to properly not only hydrate yourself, but get yourself in gear when it comes to the right nutrition. That's where the American Dairy Association of Indiana is here to work for you. Allow me, if I may, to read you a few milk facts. Experts agree that the body requires immediate fuel to recover and rehydrate during the 30 minutes after workout. Low-fat chocolate milk, which is what Derek's drinking right now.
I've got all this up here.
It's nature's recovery drink for athletes with a perfect mix of carbs and protein.
Carbs and protein, yep.
To rebuild muscles and restore fluid and electrolyte loss.
Electrolyte loss.
Chocolate milk contains more carbohydrates than regular milk.
Look at all those carbs.
And 1 8-ounce serving of low-fat chocolate milk has as much calcium as how many cups of raw spinach?
10.
10 is correct. As much potassium as a...
hard-boiled egg.
No.
Banana.
Yeah, banana.
Okay.
And as much vitamin A as 2
hard-boiled eggs.
That's correct.
See, I had the
That's a
items
lot
right.
of recovery nutrition and 8 ounces of absolute refreshing deliciousness.
Damn straight.
So when your workout is done but your body isn't refueled with chocolate milk, visit winnersdrinkmilk.com to find out more about the best post-exercise drink
that's
around.
The thing. That's the difference between you and me, and you'll see it if you go to the Rookie Award Luncheon, is that Jake needs notes. I got everything right up here.
Yeah.
So I might have had some of the measurements a little bit off, but I had like hard-boiled egg spinach. Like I remembered.
The shocker here is that Derek Schultz, when it came to the measurements, came up just a little bit short.
Let's go ahead and get to our winner of the week. I'm sorry to go college hoops again, but it's got to be Dan Hurley, right? They were fresh off probation and really kind of a disaster fallout with Kevin Ollie. It did not go well. The UConn, you could argue, Jake, was the biggest loser of conference expansion. They got left in no man's land in the ACC. Their athletic department started hemorrhaging money. AAC. Their athletic department started hemorrhaging money. They were in a very bad spot in like 2016, 17, 18. And they decided, you know what? Screw football. We stink at it. Let's get back to our roots, go back to the Big East. They make the right hire. They make the right decision conference-wise, and here they are on top of the pile again. But I love Danny Hurley. He's Jersey City. He's very New York. And I think he just fits. Like, UConn, the other Blue Bloods are kind of buttoned up to me. And UConn is very brash. Their fans like to break stuff after they win. Like,
really?
Yeah. My buddy got expelled from UConn. He was a senior when they won it in 2004, and they took a picture of him standing on top of an overturned car. And he had to finish his degree at a satellite campus. He's gone on to, he has a family now. He's doing pretty well. But, yeah, he got kicked out of UConn. It's hard to get kicked out of UConn.
What satellite campus?
Stanford. So they have, just like IU has, IU Kokomo.
He got a Stanford degree?
He technically got a UConn degree, but they did not let him continue at Storrs. Like, they kicked him out of student housing, the whole deal. There, you had to live in the dorms, like, all 4 years.
Now,
at least 20 years
remember
ago.
the kid, the mac and cheese kid? Was that Connecticut?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The kid that there was a viral video of a freshman.
Oh, in the dining hall.
In the dining hall.
Yeah, I think that was UConn.
He was overserved.
Mm-hmm.
A little boorish.
He was.
Is UConn a good school?
It's fine. When I've spent time there, it's actually, campus-wise, it's reminded me a lot of Purdue. They have a lot of the same or similar academic programs, but it's you drive, you see cows, and you're like, where the hell am I? Boom, college campus. Like, you would never think.
So somebody said to me today, like, UConn is basically New York City.
No, not even close. Now, it's only probably an hour, hour and a half maybe from New York City. Storrs is the middle of nowhere. Connecticut's this big. But when people think of Connecticut, I think they either think of super New England-y Connecticut or they think of like New York City suburb, like where I grew up, Connecticut. But there is this area of Connecticut that is just kind of farmland. And there's just not a lot going on. And that's where Storrs is.
So let me ask you a really dumb question, and I'm almost embarrassed.
It's like a half hour. I think it's like 20 minutes from Hartford.
So here's my really dumb question.
Okay.
And I'm embarrassed to ask it. If Connecticut, the far eastern end of Connecticut, borders up against New York City, right?
No, the southeastern end, or the southwestern end of Connecticut borders up against New York.
Okay, where's Storrs then?
Storrs is north central. It might be more east but I think it's central. Hold on, let me look. Sorry, guys. This is
when you cross
interesting show here.
When you cross the far western border of Connecticut, what state are you going into? Like if this is
Rhode Island. Oh wait, no, western. Sorry.
So this is Connecticut. Okay. Here's Connecticut.
Are you going into PA? I don't even know.
You grew up there.
You're going into PA, right? Well, it depends.
Did you ever leave your house?
Jake, I really only spent time in Fairfield County.
For the first 20 years of my life,
spend a
I
lot
only
of
spent
time in Connecticut proper. But New York State and then PA, like 84 takes you across to Scranton. And 84 is the big east-west highway.
Like, I could probably draw a Connecticut state map right now better than you, and you're a Connecticutian.
This is the problem, and people in Indiana don't understand. People in Indiana, you have roads that go north, you have roads that go south, you have roads that go east and west. It's all a grid. Connecticut's roads go like this.
Okay.
Like, even the highways are like, blah, blah, blah. The Merritt Parkway, it's all messed up out there. There's woods and, like, whatever else. There's all kinds of, like, there's not just, like, farmland and cornfields. There are geographic barriers that prevent Connecticut from being on a grid. Let me look to be sure. Hartford is kind of in the middle of the state, a little bit north. And I think Storrs is east of there, if I remember right. And I've actually spent time there, but I'm still trying to remember.
I have done a show with this guy, mercifully, for over a decade. I knew he was from Connecticut. I knew he was from a town that has the World Series champions because he talks about it every 2.5 hours. I knew that he went to high school with some guy that writes the wrestling crap. And yet I now have suddenly learned, after all of that time, the one thing I learned that I thought I knew everything there was to know about Derek. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Derek. What I didn't know is that, I thought I knew him until his 40th birthday when I wasn't invited. And then all bets were off. But now I find out that he doesn't even know the geography, the simple geography of his home state, which, might I add, is the third smallest state in the United States of America. So
Storrs is east of Hartford.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly how I have it designed here.
Okay, yeah. So congratulations to Dan Hurley, our winners of the week, winnersdrinkmilk.com. We have other stuff to get to. Including the college basketball conversation, a positive. I'm not going to get into Caitlin Clark, that whole thing that dominated the news cycle, but something positive about that and what it means for women's basketball. We'll come back with that next. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Introducing an old-fashioned that's ready to go when you are. An old-fashioned that you can make anywhere, anytime. Add 3 ounces of your favorite spirit plus one of our sugar cubes to make a consistent bar-quality old-fashioned without a mixologist. We use the finest bitters, organic crystallized brown sugar, and orange in our cubes. That's it, because that's everything the perfect old-fashioned needs. Online at yourgrandpasoldfashioned.com or on social media at YG.
Welcome back. Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group, here on the ISC Sports Network. Jake Query, Derek Schultz, Sean Walker, J.D. Arland, who you can't see. They're on the other side of the glass, both very handsome. Not as handsome as the two up here, though. Wanted to shout out to Mike Wood. Some of you may know this. I think we've mentioned this before on the show, but the first ever branch of Bailey & Wood Financial Group was in Whiteland, and that is still their main hub, is their building in Whiteland. And as many people know, the tornadoes of the spots that they hit pretty hard in Whiteland. In fact, I think an F2 came through Whiteland. Luckily, minimal damage to the Bailey & Wood building, but I think Mike and his team are going to start some sort of a fundraiser. I texted him on Friday, to make sure he was okay first, but on Friday about it and let him know, hey, if there's anything that we can do or signal boost, whatever, to go ahead and let me know, and he's going to let me know about that. So
that's your phone buzzing there, Derek?
Yeah, it's not Mike. I keep getting calls from Georgetown, Kentucky that's spam, and I've never been to Georgetown, Kentucky, and I wish they'd stop calling me.
Well, they're not
whoever
really
it is.
from Georgetown. It's just a
BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME, and branch locations all over the state of Indiana. But thinking about our friends in Whiteland, Johnson County, I have college friends who grew up in Sullivan, which was hit hard, and then in Clinton County, which is where we taped this show, had some damage. I don't know if you saw in 65.
see,
yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty serious. It was debris all over the place.
Derek, it is of no surprise that Bailey and Wood would step up because that's what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact
Big
that
time.
not only are they want to make sure that you want to keep your mortgage, the business that you're doing right here locally in the state, but also with somebody who is doing a lot around philanthropically to raise money for different organizations around the area. So, absolutely the best to those. Not only condolences to those who knew those that lost their lives, but to those that lost their homes or significant portions of it. Hoosiers rally together, and Bailey and Wood is one of those. That's one of the true assets and values of their Hoosier business principles.
Something that I wanted to touch on while we talked about the men's tournament, something positive, I think, for the women's tournament. And Jared Wade, who was with 8.9 seconds, he's a Pacers guy in Twitter's sphere, has been for a very long time. Smart dude, and I follow him on there. And he tweeted something, and I was like, this is an unbelievable point that I had not thought about. But as the conversation was really deteriorating about the Angel Reese of LSU, Caitlin Clark of Iowa, taunting, when to taunt, when not to taunt, what's okay, trash talk, what's not, he tweeted something like, isn't it a great statement about women's basketball that we can have the same conversations that we do in the men's game? Because this is exactly a conversation that sports radio shows and podcasts like this one would be spouting off about for hours on end. And the fact that everyone was talking about it, and that was the conversation going on, I think is actually a great step in the right direction for women's basketball, even if it was the absolute dumbest conversation
that's
that
a
was
fair
going
point.
on.
I do think, Derek, that there were elements of it that it kind of had everything in terms of you can compare the way that the visuals were ingested and processed by people when it was a women's game versus men's. You could do it when it was an African-American player versus a white player. I mean, there were a number of factors to it that made it a polarizing subject. But that's a very good take. And look, a lot of people watched the women's Final Four, and LSU had examples too that were fabulous. I mean, they had a player come off the bench whose number was called, and she rose to the occasion for her team, and you had great team play, and Iowa was a great story, and Caitlin Clark was fun to watch, and take it from there.
10 million people, I think, 9.9 tuned in for the women's game. I mean, it was a perfect storm of kind of an off-brand Final Four. I mean, UConn's got a good brand, but the rest of the teams not so much, and really little star power on the men's side. And then women's basketball just having a great season.
Right.
Your undefeated defending champion in South Carolina taking on the biggest star in the sport. I mean, not that Aaliyah Boston's any slouch either. She's probably going to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft. So you had star versus star as far as that was concerned, offense and defense. It was great. I mean, I stopped what I was doing to watch the game. Now, for me, it's a little bit different because growing up in Connecticut and with two sisters my same age in the 90s, we watch UConn women's basketball all the time.
You're the same age as your sisters?
Yeah, I'm a triplet. I'm not sure if you knew that. We've talked about it a little bit. I don't know if I've mentioned it that often on the show. People know. Indy Star covered it, the whole deal. So people, trust me, people know. But it's women's basketball has been part of my life for a long time. But to see it kind of grow, and I'm not saying like, well, I've always liked women's basketball. Not in that way.
It's always been on your radar.
I've always appreciated high-level women's basketball. Because even the Fever games, I mean, I remember going when Tamika and Katie Douglas had that team in 2009 that went to the finals. I went to those games. It's a different, you have to appreciate it for different things. It's like college and pro men's basketball. I like for different reasons. But it's an extremely intense game. And when it's played at a high level, just like any other sport, you get completely enamored with it. If you love sports, you should love high-level women's basketball. And I'm glad that people are getting on board.
By the way, Derek, we haven't mentioned that we are inside the Lou Malnati studio, right?
That's right.
Lou Malnati's, which we were able to go out, and Derek tried cutting the ribbon. It was kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. They had the scissors, but they were bigger than Derek's wingspan, so it's kind of uncomfortable.
Thrust.
No. First off, you were biting your lip like that, which was horribly embarrassing.
I'm not I'm not biting my lip. I'm just making the motion.
When you trust me, you don't see it. Lucky for you. When you thrust, you bite your lip. It's very awkward.
I don't think that I do that, but okay, we can roll back the tape on this. Sean just saved me a copy, and I'll watch it tonight when we stream it.
Believe you me.
Okay.
But anyway, we were out in Avon, and Derek tried to cut the ribbon, and then the Chamber of Commerce was like, here, we can get that, and they cut the ribbon. For the grand opening,
Yep.
their location over on Rockville Road, right?
Now 5 Central Indiana locations.
That's right.
Avon, Greenwood, Broad Ripple, Carmel.
They did ask,
Buff, West
by the way,
86.
for the 5 locations, they asked that I do the visual on that because it's easier for people to see that there's 5.
Okay, I do have small hands, but balls up in a tighter, more compact fist for more power. That's great that you mentioned lose, though, because we've got
Do you
our
bite your upper lip when you punch?
Who's Cooking this week. I'll make your lip bleed if you want me to.
Yeah, okay.
Caitlin Clark is my Who's Cooking. I know they didn't win the title. Look, congratulations to Angel Reese and LSU. They are deserving champions, and they smoked them in that game. I mean, they dominated that game. They were clearly the better team. But I don't think it's an understatement to say that Caitlin Clark is
You mean overstatement?
overstatement. One of the biggest stars and most important stars in women's college basketball history, just because of people tuning in specifically for her.
And the number of young girls that watched, right? I mean,
And,
just because
yeah.
it was, here, I think it's simply the fact that here's a girl from Iowa that Iowa's been a good program, but not necessarily, when there was a Miss Basketball from Indiana that played at Iowa. They had a good program in the 80s, 90s. They've always been decent. But for Caitlin Clark and Iowa, it used to be, Derek, for the last 20 years, if you're the best player in high school basketball, top 5 player, you went to UConn.
Yeah.
Right? You went and played for Ariema. She stays home. She plays for Iowa. And you want to talk about an unbelievable run. Sets the record, breaks, I believe it was it Cheryl Swoop's record? For most points in a single
I
tournament.
think that was right, yeah.
So, just an absolutely unbelievable performance.
And it's funny because, you go back to like 6-7 years ago. Remember we were talking about how is the UConn women and what they're doing, is it bad for women's college basketball? And people got real upset about even saying that. What do you mean it's bad for women's college basketball? Yeah, UConn winning every game by 25 points. There's no reason to watch, guys. Like I'm not trying to take that away, but I think in hindsight now, with what we've had here, with the parity in the women's game, with the relevance of so many programs now, and with the star power, it's a million times better than what it was in 2015-16 when I'm sitting there at then Bankers Life Fieldhouse watching UConn beat Syracuse by 700 points.
Right.
That wasn't fun.
Right.
There was no reason to be there. It was a coronation more than it was a college basketball competition. So it's great that the doors have flung open now, and somebody other than UConn or Tennessee or Stanford had a bunch of good teams, I feel like, in there too.
Yeah.
There were a couple of programs that were in the mix, and now you've got 12, 13,
La Tech,
14,
wasn't
15
La Tech
programs.
good for a while
La
there?
Tech was good at the very early end with Tennessee when Pat Summitt was coming up in her reign.
You ready for an old fashioned?
I am.
These are fantastic.
Let's do it. God, we have so many like food and drink. Like we have milk, and we got hoagies and hops coming up, and Chili Water Brewing.
They're all
and
fabulous, though. This
all
is really
all
good.
very, very good. For a couple of weeks now, we've had our friends at Your Grandpa's Old Fashioned on with us. You can see the logo right here, yourgrandpa'soldfashioned.com. And kind of like we do at Lou Malnati's with the QNS delivery code. It's up there, QNS Freedell 23, order.loumalnatis.com. We now have a code for Your Grandpa's Old Fashioned. So promo code Query and Schultz, QUERYSCHULTZ, for $5 off your order of Your Grandpa's Old Fashioned.
Now, Derek,
at
you get worried because that
yourgrandpa'soldfashioned.com.
means they can track how many people, right?
I get a little nervous about it. The problem is that we have, people globally that watch this show, but shipping can be tough to some of those countries.
Well, here's what it is.
Like Bangladesh, Uzbekistan. We have people from all over that watch the show.
Uzbekistan?
Yeah, I got an email once. A prince in Uzbekistan who wanted to say, click on this link. Dear Query and Schultz, click on this link. And I was like, well, how else would he have heard of the show? So he knew about us. And, I don't know. JD, do you guys do Uzbekistan shipping?
Uzbekistan.
No, he says no. Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
It's like Uzbekistan.
Right.
Like Joe Pesci.
Okay.
Is this a bad show? Do you guys think today's been a bad show? I was just thinking about that. Has it been bad?
That goes without saying. You might be asking, by the way, what is your grandpa's old fashioned? Well, let me tell you exactly what that is. Okay, JD that works on the show here, his family, his grandfather actually was a bartender and thought, you know what, I'm getting so tired of teaching people how to make the perfect old fashioned because there's all kinds of weird ingredients, right? Bitters. I mean, you go to the grocery store and buy bitters, right? There's all kinds of ingredients in it. So his grandfather said, here's what I'm going to do. Instead of training my staff all the time on all of the things that go into making the perfect old fashioned, I'm just going to simply make them into ready-made cubes, basically like a sugar cube. And it's easy. You take the cube, it's got the perfect mix of everything that goes into the perfect old fashioned. You crush it up in the glass, you put the bourbon in, you put the ice in, perfect old fashioned. Perfectly every single time, consistent every single time. That's what you want out of your old fashioned, and they are. And it takes kind of the bite out of it. It's wonderful.
It's delicious.
Very good.
Consistent. You get it every time. Your grandpa's old fashioned.
Like this show.
.com. Yeah, this show's consistent too. Hoagies and hops. I got hot dogs. Hot dogs. There used to be a
Really?
Yankee Stadium vendor. That because you do like the hot dog. This guy used to say hot
No,
dogs.
Busch Stadium back in the
Hot
day.
dogs.
Come back.
Okay, maybe that's what I was
Come
thinking.
back.
Like I knew it was a little more.
Anybody
high-pitched.
over the age of 40 knows what I'm talking about.
Hot dogs. Hot dogs. We got hot dogs coming up next. Hoagies and hops when we continue. Query and Schultz. Eating, drinking.
Colts talk as well, by
Being
the way.
merry.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Introducing an old-fashioned that's ready to go when you are. An old-fashioned that you can make anywhere, anytime. Add 3 ounces of your favorite spirit plus one of our sugar cubes to make a consistent bar-quality old-fashioned without a mixologist. We use the finest bitters, organic crystallized brown sugar, and orange in our cubes. That's it, because that's everything the perfect old-fashioned needs. Online at yourgrandpasoldfashioned.com or on social media at YG Old Fashioned.
Welcome back, Query and Schultz. ISC Sports Network.
Somebody said
for
we
joining
pop
us.
our mouth too much when we eat into the mic, Derek.
Who said that?
Smacked our lips. I know somebody on Twitter.
Well, get ready.
That looks
Random
good.
person on Twitter. I have 2 chili cheese dogs from our friends at Hoagies and Hops. Hoagiesandhops.com, 42nd and Boulevard. Right there in Midtown. Delicious. We usually talk about the cold subs or the hot cheesesteaks. Very rarely do we do hot dogs on the show, but baseball just had opening day last week. Great turnout for the Reds game. I haven't seen how they've done since then. I just saw that people went to the first game at the very least.
Leading the NL Central.
Are they really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, good for the Reds. You guys do score updates on your show all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's like the White Sox score and the Cleveland score, and I'm like, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, we do.
Yeah.
People like to know that.
I mean, I'm not the program.
you know, actually, if you listen to them, you wouldn't have to be
Director.
asking me about the Reds record, right?
I guess, yeah, I've been listening less. You know, life gets in the way, so can't listen to Jake as much as I would like. Hoagies and Hops,
Well, you'd
Hoagie
like
Hero
to.
of the
That's the
Week. We
important
have
thing.
the chili
Oh, yeah.
cheese dogs, and we have our Chili Water Brewing, the tap room right next door to Hoagies and Hops, the dark side of the Munich, the Dunkel Lager und Schultz. Drinking the dark beer today. So, you want to start?
I'm still
Cheers?
working the old fashioned.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Ooh, I like. It's good. Yes. Very good. I know 9 is no. What's yes in German? Just yes? Or yeah.
V.
Yeah.
V.
Yeah. This is good. It's good beer. Dark side of the Munich. So the dark beer here at Chili Water Brewing. It's
very
Let's
good.
go ahead with the hot
Very
dogs. This is just Here,
Very good.
you go first because you're a little bit more of a neat freak than I am. So
What
I want
are we
you to
doing here?
I want you to take that out first. Do we have any napkins at all? Okay, we have a tissue box. I don't know if that's going to be very helpful here for Jake and his hot dog. But
Excuse me?
I love hot dogs. There's no right way to like eat a hot dog without looking weird on, there we go, paper towels on TV, right? So we're going to attempt to do this. You and I are both going to do it at the same time, though, because I don't want to. What you have to do is bring the hot dog to you. Don't go to the hot dog.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting in the bleachers. I just knocked off work. It's 72 degrees and sunny outside. Just sitting alone. That's what it tastes like. Just delicious. Perfectly content. HoagiesandHops.com and the Whiz on the dog as well. House-made chili for the chili cheese dog. Absolutely delicious. Check it out. Hero of the week. I've got the Purdue laptop and the Purdue shirt. How about Gene Cady? Basketball Hall of Famer now for Gene Cady. Long time coming. Nearing his 87th birthday. Long-awaited Hall call for Coach Cady. 7-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. 5-time National Coach of the Year. And I know people say, well, he didn't win a title. Well, he didn't go to the Final Four. Look, John Chaney made the Naismith Hall of Fame over 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, Lou Carnesecca is in the Naismith Hall of Fame.
His teams played hard every night. They got the most out of themselves every time, and they were always a hard out.
A wonderful coach who had
Great guy.
an amazing amount of success, even if it didn't often come in the NCAA tournament, and a great representative. I know this is me and the Purdue marketing and communications me saying this, but and people maybe take it with a grain of salt, but I genuinely mean this even before they employed me. A great representation of the university. He's always around. He's always active. He's always cheering. I love the fact that he had all the Purdue gear on. No one else did for the basketball. Like Dirk wasn't rocking a Mavs pants. He was just wearing a suit jacket. Great guy. Really have come to appreciate.
Have you gotten to know
Cady.
him in your new role?
I mean, kind of same as it was. He might be able to pick me out of a police lineup because we've interacted that often over the years, but probably not. The best thing is that, every time you call him on his cell for him to come on the show, he kind of answered the phone very similar to your dad. Hello? Kind of like that. And
hello.
I was always worried.
Okay, Jake, can you hear me? Okay, go ahead.
I was always worried that he was mad at me for calling, but
Now-
then he would immediately just light up.
5 seconds into the call, does he say, Karen, can you hang up so I can hear Jake? Is that what Gene Cady
He
says?
didn't say Karen. No.
Just curious.
Your dad. My dad he's the loudest cell phone talker that there is. My dad watches the show, so hi, Dad. If you're still, he's probably not still watching because this hasn't particularly been a great show.
My
But-
dad used to.
Hero of the week. Head into the Chili Water tap room, grab a Dark Side of the Munich, head into Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard next door, and grab a chili cheese dog. Watch some
really
baseball
good.
this afternoon. Quick hits, Pacers mathematically eliminated, so they are donezo when it comes to the playoffs and the play-in round. Lost to the Cavs on Sunday night, so they enter the final week of the season 34-45. They got 2 against the Knicks, a home and home. And then the home finale is Detroit on Friday.
Yeah. They should finish strong.
Started 23-18, and they had a 2-16 stretch there in mid-January to mid-February, which really kind of sunk the season. But Jake, outside of a bad 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they were 32-29.
Fun to watch.
I mean, this was, they had a disaster stretch and some injuries in there. Tyrese was out of the lineup. Overall, I think you have to be pleased with, and they're still in line for a top 5,
Derek,
6, 7 pick.
The big thing is this. They have direction. You know where they're going.
Yeah.
They were able this year to find out who to run with and who not. There are not many knots, actually. Everybody, I think they had a good year. But they add 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 of the front 32 picks in the draft. I mean, you
They've
get
stockpiled them.
You get a Nimhard late, and you hit on one of those 2.
You're right.
And you get,
You're in good shape.
yeah.
You were stuck in Dallas, but after a wild and fantastic, an applauded IndyCar race.
It's a great race.
Featured 27 lead changes, most for a non-Indy 500 IndyCar race since Texas in 2001. That's how far back you have to go. Maybe they figured something out there because it feels like there's been some trial and error about how to get Texas where it's fun and wild but also safe, because you've had fun and wild races that were like straight dangerous.
Right.
In Texas, but I tuned in, and Joseph Newgarden holding off Pato Award. It's a fantastic event.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. 2 Chevys running up front that were really fast. Pato Award is going to be a star for a long time.
Yeah,
and Joseph Newgarden already is. And those two have a respect for each other. I think that's the cool thing is they trust being able to race against the other one. They know, that they can go hard, and it was a lot of fun to watch, no doubt about it.
There was a thoughts with people in Montana. There was a train derailment there. Train derailments, I don't know if you know this, have been in the news here lately. No hazardous material was released, which was a good thing, but hundreds of cases of beer were released. Quinn's Hot Springs reported the derailment
Dark side of the Munich
happened near cabins that are owned over there. KPAX TV said about 25 train cars were involved. Video showed the spilled beer included mostly Coors and Blue Moon, and even showed one smiling fella in a boat who waited out there, had beer in hand, and he looked to be really, really happy about it.
Blue Moon chick beer.
Yeah, it's pretty good, though. Blue Moon's a good summer beer. Any beer that you got to put fruit in the beer, that's kind of to each their own. That's something that I choose not to do.
Fair enough.
Like people were like, hey, do you put Jolly Ranchers in your Zima? No, I drink Zima straight, like a full-grown man. Like it's a guy's drink. When you start throwing Jolly Ranchers into it, then it gets a little, you know what I mean?
They don't even make
like
it
it's a little off-brand for me.
Zima hasn't been made in like 20 years.
I got a case in my basement. It doesn't expire until 25. So if you want to come over and crush some Z.
Let me guess, are you into the seltzers too?
We can do that. No, I see, again, like, I feel weird showing up at a party drinking the seltzers. You know what I mean?
But you'll drink the Zima?
Oh, yeah. Zima has a legacy. Zima has a history. The seltzers are more of kind
What's
of a
the
fly
history?
by night.
You booting in the woods?
In the 90s, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes back that. Basically, UConn's blue blood status started around when Zima became a household name. So it's funny that we're bringing that up on the show because they're
UConn still in
very
existence.
similar. Very similar apex for both of those. Love that play. Bite or Bowl Bleep, and some closing thoughts here as we bid you adieu in the final segment of the show next.
That's adios.
Here on Query and Schultz. Hot dog.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Derek, the final college basketball poll of the year has been released. We're going to see if I can guess your top 5. Are you ready?
Yep, far away. I mean, number one's obvious, and number two.
Number 1 team in the land would be Connecticut.
Yep.
Number 2, I'm actually going to say Miami.
SDSU. Miami's 3.
Okay. Number 4, it's not Florida Atlantic, right? I will go with
The top seed in the tournament.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. Rest of the top 5, or rest of the top 10. You ready?
Yep.
In no particular order. Kansas,
No.
Gonzaga,
Yep.
UCLA,
Yep. FAU, obviously.
FAU.
Think of the other 1 seeds that actually, did something.
Right. Okay. Gosh, I got to think now. Alabama was 1.
Kansas is 11.
Alabama, Kansas, Purdue. There's one. Who's the other number 1 that I'm forgetting?
Houston.
Oh, Houston. Yeah, of course. Where'd they finish?
6. Texas 7. UCLA, who you mentioned, 8. K-State 9.
Okay.
So K-State was up 4 spots. Gonzaga 10.
So I noticed you
Purdue,
haven't mentioned Purdue or Indiana.
13th. They dropped 10 spots, and Indiana dropped 5 spots to 24.
Wow.
Virginia dropped 13 to 23. So people taking the tournament seriously, which is fine. Although, I mean, what did Creighton really do to get to 12? They beat Princeton.
Right.
Like, who cares? I know. Okay, Flair Lee Dickinson. Like, I get it, but
Well, you know what's interesting?
that seems a little ridiculous.
Florida Atlantic had a great year. I mean, all year, right? Got to the Final Four, won 30 games before the tournament even began, if I'm not mistaken. Derek, they probably should have been ousted by Memphis.
Yeah.
They got a benefit
Yeah.
of, Memphis is trying to call a timeout,
That's the tournament.
and refs don't see it. Florida Atlantic ball, they move
That's
on.
life. I mean, Michigan State had a couple of bank shots against Kansas State go against them, or else maybe it's them that made the Final Four. I don't know.
Right.
So that's just life in the tournament for sure. It's tough. Love that play. This love that play feels like it's.
I love
2
this
weeks
old
ago.
fashioned.
And it stinks that this was followed up by really kind of a forgettable national championship game. But Lamont Butler and San Diego State, what a finish. What a buzzer beater. Only the 5th in Final Four history. That includes the title games. But the 2nd in 3 years, because Jalen Suggs did it here in Indy to beat UCLA.
That's right.
For Gonzaga at the buzzer. But a mid-range jumper, it was great. The radio call was terrible.
The San Diego State radio call was really bad.
But yeah, but
the Florida
rest of it
Atlantic
was
guy
great.
did a
It
good
was
job.
awesome. You guys had him on the show, right?
Yeah,
Nice guy?
nice guy.
Seemed like a nice guy. And some people on Twitter had a problem with it because apparently the San Diego State play-by-play guy is some like San Diego legend, but who cares? It was a bad call. Joe Buck has had bad
Good.
calls. Yeah.
Who's going to the Final Four? Not FAU. The Aztecs.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why bringing up FAU there. Like, if it's Duke and Carolina Carolina just won, who's going to the championship game? Not Duke.
Right.
It's us. I understand. It's a rivalry. FAU and San Diego State have no connection whatsoever.
This really is fabulous.
Yeah, it's good. The old-fashioned. I agree.
Yeah, it's smooth.
Love
smooth as can be.
HVAC.com 353-2141 for Love Heating and Cooling. To wrap up, Chateau Kitchens, they're at my house all week this week.
They live
helping
there,
finish
Derek.
my basement. They're great.
They're
Yeah,
all
the
because
builders.
every time they do a project, you come up with another one because you like them so much.
ChateauKitchens.com.
Understandable.
Before and after pictures, Instagram and Facebook as well.
No pictures of Derek in the shower.
Beautiful. If you want those, DerekAquarianSchultz.com. You'll have to pay for the licensing, but if you want those, I have a photo shelter, and I will share that with you.
Photo shelter?
Yeah. Just an account, photo shelter account, where I put high-res photos of me in the shower. No nudity, obviously. Just what we play.
What do you shower in?
My beautiful Chateau. Thanks for asking. My beautiful.
No,
Chateau
I mean, what are you
kitchen
wearing
shower.
in the shower if there's no nudity in the shower?
Well, the photos that I would share would be the ones that we've displayed on the show, so they're PG. I mean, they're probably closer to PG-13, but they're not.
The pictures of you naked in the shower look like a sloth in the rainforest.
I'm not naked in the shower. I have a towel around my torso.
You got a sweater around your chest.
Well, it's still moist from the water of the shower glistening, if you will. And there are a lot of people that like that like manly look. You don't like it because you can't do it. You don't have this vibe going on like I have. So it's a little bit different for you. Here's what we do with Biter Bull Bleep. I give a statement, we go back and forth with Biter Bull Bleep. You ready, Jake?
The old fashions.
UConn Same tier as Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, UCLA, North Carolina. Buy it. Bold bleed.
Duke, yes. North Carolina, Kentucky, no, because in the current era in which we're living, yes. But in totality of longevity of tradition, no.
To me, the first tier is those 5 teams. But the 3 that separate themselves to me, because it's, no offense to you, UCLA is really one era. That's really, I know Herrick won in 95, and I know they've had other Final Four teams. UCLA is basically one era. Kansas has been relevant for decades. Carolina has been relevant for decades. UK, even with the improprieties, has been relevant for decades. Those 3 to me are the class of college basketball. But if you want to throw UConn up there, absolutely. I mean, UConn's a lot closer to that tier than they are to the NC State, Arizona, Michigan State tier, don't you think?
That's fair.
So I'll put them there, and I'll put them in front of Indiana. Statement 2, missing the playing round for the Pacers isn't disappointing. Buy it or bold bleep?
No, it's not disappointing at all. It's good news. Getting the lottery.
Yeah,
I get it, but getting the lottery.
I would have liked to see them in a postseason.
Understood.
Even in something
Getting
kind of manufactured like the play-in round. But I agree with you. It's best for them to just go 33 and 49 or whatever.
Now,
the
clock starts ticking, right? Maybe one more year of putting things together, and then in 2 years they better get going.
Yeah, you have to show the same growth that you did this year. Just keep ascending. But yeah, I mean, disappointing. Nothing about this season for the Pacers has been disappointing to me. It's been great. Yep, there it is. There it is. And just it's just a happy person. He's in a new shower. Obviously a muscular person as well in there. There's some good definition going on. Chest area, shoulders, especially, and just manly. There's a lot of. This may surprise you. I've never shaved my chest. I've never done that. That is all natural. I don't have any hair implants or any procedures there. That's me. That's all Derek. The hair on the top of my feet, I'd probably, if I could change something about that, I'd probably take that off. That's like a little too much hair.
Do you ever find yourself buying a lot of Drano?
But the rest of it, we actually go through that. I get on Amazon Subscribe and Save because we go through that like crazy. I actually have to get the stuff that like straight dissolves the hair because we have it. It's kind of a problem. Now I reach in there and take out clumps every morning too. We have one of those.
Well, that's not hard to do with your hands. I'll give you that.
Well,
right?
We have a drain mushroom, and I take it out, and then I take the hair, and then I wrap it around my hand, and then I dispose of it. But some of it inevitably kind of gets through. And then it gets in the soap scum, and then you have I've had it before. It's almost like a I don't really know how to just. You ever hit something on the road, and then you kind of see it, and it's almost like shapeless? That's kind of what it looks like the fatbergs that sometimes get in the shower drain. Ready for statement 3?
Oh, I've never been more ready in my life.
Easter coming up this weekend.
Yep.
Cadbury mini eggs, best ever holiday themed candy.
No, Cadbury cream eggs number 1.
Oh no, they're really like hard to eat and gross, and they get all like stuck. They're all sticky. Cadbury cream egg, no. Mini eggs, the crunchy ones. Bang, pop them. They come in the little purple bags, or you can get the economy size ones and just.
How about Peeps?
Put those in. Peeps are disgusting. No.
What about the ones that are the little mini eggs but are actually like malted milk balls?
I don't like robin eggs. That's what those. I don't like those as much. Like if I'm in a pinch, I'll house some robin eggs, but Cadbury mini eggs. There it is. What are you doing?
Is there a Reese's peanut butter bunny?
There's a Reese's peanut butter egg. That's pretty good. Sean seems to really like the picture of me in the do you want my photo shelter, Sean? I'll give that to you. And I won't charge. But Sean seems to really be into. Oh, look, we put it on the third. Look at that. All right. It gives you a little sneak peek of what life is like for Ashley. Ashley's pretty lucky. I think we've kind of determined that now. She is a pretty lucky woman to have all that all up in you.
Okay.
Thanks to all of our great sponsors.
Can we work on vernacular for the next
Chateau
show?
Kitchens.
Can we go over
Hoagies and Hops,
We need to have a
Blue
meeting about
Malnati's,
phrasing.
Bailey and Wood Financial Group, Your Grandpa's Old Fashioned, American Dairy Association, Indiana, Love Heating and Cooling, We love them all. We love them all.
I came back. I had a flight. I was stuck in Dallas. I coordinated to fly into Cincinnati. Mike Byron drove down and picked me up in Cincinnati to get me here so that I had time to do the show. And then what do I end up with but like this pseudo weird 70s erotica of you and then hot dog references and just all kinds of totally inappropriate and weird crap.
I don't know why everything has to be like sexual with you. I mean, look, that picture obviously screams sex, but most of the time, like, you venture that way, and I don't know why you have to go there. So whether you're shirtless or not, whether you're pantless or not, thanks so much for watching Query and Schultz. We will see you next time on the ISC Sports
Hopefully.
Network.
Doubtful.
Photo shelter. Derek at QueryandSchultz.com. Let me know.
Give me shelter indeed.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do. From Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Throw it up for Tillman. Whoa, my goodness. 122.60 for Penn.
What a swim!
Six of them. The drive, the take, fouled, and it goes.
Lobbing it to the back of the end zone. They're going to say it's a touchdown.
Left foot gets through. Goal for Vargas. Hamilton will score. Brewer jams it home.
That ball wiggles in and into the back of the net.
A little fireworks in the first half. Throw it up for Tillman. Whoa, my goodness. 122.60 for Penn.
What a swim! Six of them!
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Many communities in rural America are often overlooked as underserved. These communities are being left behind due to lack of internet and access to state-of-the-art technology. That's why Mulberry Telecommunications provides rural broadband services and technology and is growing their presence in North Central Indiana. Because every community deserves infrastructure and beyond. To learn more, contact us today.
Throw it up for Tillman. Whoa, my goodness. 122.60 for Penn.
What a swim! Six of them!